You are listening to Productivity Straight Talk with your host, Amber De La Garza. Amber is a sought-after productivity coach, trainer, speaker, and writer who gives entrepreneurs the straight talk on personal productivity. No BS, fluff, or overused jargon. Just actionable strategies to get results and succeed in business. And here is your host, Amber De La Garza, the Productivity Specialist.
Welcome, and thank you for listening to Productivity Straight Talk. Today is episode 238, From Task List to Action List. If you're a business owner who wants to improve your time management and elevate your productivity so you can maximize profits, reduce stress, and make time for what matters most, then you're in the right place, and I'm so glad you've joined me. Today, I am going to share with you a very simple, but do not underestimate, very powerful strategy to reduce stress, manage your time, and get shit done. I am going to teach you one strategy that is guaranteed to turn your task list into an action list. But before we dive in, I want to answer a question that I get frequently. And that question is, who exactly is Leverage Lab for? Leverage Lab is my business coaching and training program. And Leverage Lab is most certainly not for everyone. So who is it for? Leverage Lab is for service-based business owners. Think interior designers, attorney, realtor, financial advisor, coaches, therapists, trainers, accountants, speakers. That is a sampling of the list of the type of business owners that are represented inside Leverage Lab. They all have been in business for at least a couple years, so they're seasoned and past the newbie stage. They are making money, but have either reached a plateau and can't break past that, or have worked themselves to the bone in order to scale and grow and want their personal life back. If you're tired, overwhelmed, stressed out, and not sure how to move forward, then Leverage Lab is for you. If you lack business systems and find yourself putting out fires all day long, Leverage Lab is for you. If you struggle with time management and can't seem to stay focused, set priorities, or get organized, then Leverage Lab is for you. So my question is Leverage Lab for you? To learn more about my Leverage Lab program and to join us, head on over to amberdelagarza.com/Leverage Lab. And now, let's get to the straight talk. Let's turn that task list into an action list. Here's how. Verberize it. Yes, I totally made that word up, but it has worked for me for many, many years, and it is a perfect word for what we're going to talk about today. Verberize it. It means that when you create a task on your task list, be specific with the action that needs to be taken in its wording and start it off with an action verb. So what do I mean? Here's what people tend to do on their task list. They tend to generalize, abbreviate what actually needs to happen. So here's a sample task list. Party, Victoria, trust, website, sales, employee benefits, team meeting, marketing. Pretty general, right? Like beyond general. In fact, so general that perhaps you go back to your task list and you look at the word Victoria and you're like, what did that mean? Did it mean call her, send an email, follow up on a lead? Like, who is Victoria and what am I supposed to do for her? It's way too general. And yet, I almost guarantee that that is what you're doing most of the time, if not all the time. So let's take one of these examples. We'll take a personal example and we're going to break it down so that it can be more clear and actionable. Because here's the trick. Clarity allows us to take action quicker and faster without resistance. So when we verberize something, it is forcing us to get specific. It's forcing us to get clear about what the action is to move it forward. And when we're doing that, when we're doing our to-do list or our task list, it allows us to move into action quicker and faster. And when we're not clear about what actually needs to happen, man, is it so easy to just let that task roll over day after day, week after week. Now, as a reminder, the very first task on the task list that I shared with you earlier in the example was party. We all like a good party, right? But if I had party on my to-do list, I'm quite certain I know what party I'm planning. Perhaps it's my son's birthday party. So it's not like the Victoria example where I'm like, who's Victoria? What do I need to do with her? No, this is the party for my son. But by putting the word party, how do I move into action? And am I clear about what actually needs to happen to check off party on my list? And certainly, am I clear about what the very first thing needs to happen that ultimately, generally, leads to the next thing that needs to happen to get to the big day? So what I would rather see on your to-do list is something that says, create guest list, book bounce house, decide on menu, order cake, mail invitations, order balloons, order food, pick up balloons, pick up cake, send reminder text. I know you can't see it on my notes here, but my notes look generally just like my to-do list. You are going to want to maybe, perhaps, take my advice and up it a little bit. And what I love to do is capitalize the word. So what I have is all caps create, and then lower cap is guest list. And for me, that makes it so easy to batch things together. I can see on this list that I could probably batch together ordering balloons and ordering the cake and ordering food. I could also probably batch picking up balloons and picking up the cake because once I'm out, wouldn't that make sense to do that all at one time? Now, having the one line item party on your list may sound a little less overwhelming, a little less intimidating, but truly, it is actually none of those things because our brains are so creative and really this is so abstract that our brains are saying, we don't have enough time to plan a party. Oh my gosh, like all the things that need to happen. And so because our brains are creative with the stories we tell ourselves, we don't see a clear path to move forward. But if you had 30 minutes in your schedule for, say, lunch, and you're like, you know what? How can I move the party forward? I bet you could book a bounce house in 30 minutes. I bet you could create a guest list. So when you are more specific, it actually creates less overwhelm by breaking down the task and verberizing it. Because by breaking it down and verberizing it, it makes you be very specific in what actually needs to get done. Now, the one line item party may make a shorter list, but the truth is all of this actually needs to get done. So why wouldn't we want to live in reality of all the things that actually need to get done so that we can make very decisive decisions? For example, if it just says party, I might be like, I'm Wonder Woman, I'm Supermom, I got this whole party thing down. But once you start breaking it down and verberizing it, perhaps you realize you do not need to be Superwoman, super dad, super parent, but rather you can ask for help. You can delegate. You can decide maybe it's not that important to have the balloons because there's so many other decorations that you're more excited about. Perhaps you can decide and make decisive decisions when you're clear about what's in front of you. And most certainly, you are not going to roll over party day after day and week after week when the looming deadline of the party date is coming, when you actually know what needs to get done. Because if you actually know what needs to get done, chances are your brain is not going to lie to you and say, I have more time. I have enough time. Tomorrow's a good day. So, in essence, by verberizing and specifying, you will combat that feeling of overwhelm. You will move this into an actionable list, because otherwise, you're going to be probably underprepared, more stressed, more rushed, and you can't be strategic with where and when you can do the things that need to get done. You perhaps have no time to customize anything. Perhaps you show up to the store to buy the cake and the party is today because you didn't get far enough in advance and they don't have the cake that your kid wanted. And so instead of that really cool superhero cake that you could have custom ordered, you're left with happy birthday on a white cake. Now, everyone will get cake. That's not the point. But the point is if you lay this over business and you're able to get in front of things and have time to properly prepare, I bet you'd be less stressed and like the results even better. Now, let's take one of those business examples from above and break it down and make it more clear and actionable. The example that we're going to use here is website. Now, if I were to update my website, I would write my tasks in such a way that recognize that updating my website or website is actually a project, like the party was a project, that needs to be broken down in very specific and actionable tasks, i.e., verberize. Revise, offer pricing. Research, websites I love for inspiration. Research, photographer. Hire photographer. Select website images. Email website image selections to designer. Research, designers. Hire copywriter. Review and edit website copy. Now, is this a complete list? No, but it is the list that can come out of my head, giving a few minutes to think about what are all the known steps and tasks that need to happen to accomplish website update. And taking the time to break those down and verberize them makes the list so much more actionable. You're making the decision ahead of time of what needs to be done, and leading with an action verb ensures there is no question about what steps you need to take. If you are having to make the decision in the moment about what actually needs to get done, when you look at the word website, it certainly interrupts your workflow. And it can also overwhelm and confuse you. There is so much that happens throughout your day that the last thing that you may have is the bandwidth to look at website and then think about what needs to happen next. And then again the next day, look at website on your to-do list and think about what needs to happen next. That can be exhausting. And it's really not efficient. And our brains want to avoid the challenge of thinking about what needs to happen. And so when our brains prefer path of least resistance, if you are able to batch breaking this project down into the steps with actionable verbs, thus verberizing it, it will allow you to move through your task list and your week with ease. And who doesn't want more of that? Also, another benefit of being specific with what actually needs to be done is that you are more accurately able to determine the resources that are needed to get to the finish line, i.e., update your website. You may think in your head, update website, that should take a couple hours. But if you actually just take a few minutes and download all the steps that are known at that time, that's the caveat, it's guaranteed you do not know all the steps, but just the ones that you know, it's going to more accurately give you a feedback loop that says, clearly, this is not a couple hours project. And when we are more accurately able to identify what the resources are that are needed, i.e. time, i.e. money, whatever that resource is, we can make better business decisions about, is this a project that I pursue now? You can make better business decisions to determine, do you have the support resources? Is there someone on your team you can outsource some of this to or a lot of this to? But when you think it's as simple as update website, even if you were to really ask for support, do you know that you're pulling that support away from maybe the 2 other projects or high priority activities that you've asked your support team to do? In a nutshell, if you take a few minutes to verbalize and specify the steps that it takes and stop generalizing, you will be much more equipped to make better business decisions. And lastly, one of the major benefits of verberizing your task list and creating it into an action list is that you take action. Because there is nothing more defeating and overwhelming and stress-inducing and really just such a negative feedback loop to ourselves when we see tasks stay uncompleted and rolling over day after day after day. And if you want to create more of a positive feedback loop with regards to how you relate to your to-do list, then I would recommend being more specific, because then you get to mark it off and feel really good when you're moving the project forward. Now, there's a couple reasons why you may be rolling over tasks day after day. One reason is that you don't even know where to start, so you're not starting. So of course you can't mark off website update. But 2, when you generalize, you may actually be doing work towards updating website, but you can't mark it off. You can't get that good feeling of completion because you're putting a project on your to-do list and not the task. What you could feel really good about is hiring a copywriter, reviewing the copy, making decisions around your offering. Those are things that when shown up on your to-do list, you can certainly feel good about marking that off. Simply transforming your task list into an action list will limit the rollover of tasks from day to day, week to week, which can be so frustrating and really a waste of time. This is such a simple but powerful strategy that can have a huge positive impact on your stress and your time management. So, I encourage you to go verberize. I have loved having you listen to this episode of Productivity Straight Talk, and I sure hope you found my simple but powerful strategy to be valuable, and I hope you take action on it, because I need to be straight with you. No change, no change. Without taking action, nothing will change for you or your business. And of all the episodes, I'm going to say this one, I meant for it to be so simple. And I gave it warnings of don't let simple deter you from understanding the impact it can make. And so this is one of those simple strategies that you can take action on immediately to change your task list from a task list to an action list. And as a reminder, if you are interested and want to find out more about Leverage Lab, I invite you to head on over to amberdelagarza.com/Leverage Lab. I would like to remind you that if you have not already subscribed on your favorite podcast player to Productivity Straight Talk, that you do so now. And if you have found today's episode to be valuable, share it with a friend. Thank you so much for being a listener of Productivity Straight Talk and tuning in each week. So that's my Straight Talk for today. Until next time, have a productive week.